So the most important thing I did was I purchased with a partner a warehouse building in downtown Orlando in 2000. So I controlled my own destiny in terms of
Mm.
space.
Craig, welcome to the Believe in Your Office podcast.
Thank you, Jonathan.
It's an honor to have you. I'm excited to dive in a little bit deep and learn more about how you built such an amazing business. So, Craig, to the people who don't know or have any idea who you are, tell us a little bit more about yourself.
So I'm in the commercial furniture business, a company I founded 28 years ago in Orlando, Florida, and that is our primary office. And we have been selling and servicing all sorts of commercial furniture products for 28 years to hospitals, higher education, outdoor furniture to hotels. And really, it's expanded quite a bit over the years. We started out in the pre-owned section of the business. I was aligned with a company out of Atlanta, and I was their Florida branch, if you will. And that morphed into going out on my own with their support initially, and then being completely on my own less than a year after starting. So we started very, very small, and now we are a company of 19 employees, still in Orlando, still in Central Florida, still servicing the commercial furniture industry.
That's really cool. I mean, first and foremost, are you crazy? 28 years you've been doing this. What got you here? What allowed you the
So
ability
it's
to
a
do
wild
this for
story.
28
So I
years?
was a part owner of a restaurant in Altamont Springs, right outside Orlando, and were in the expansion mode, and I was a shareholder, and I didn't like their plans. And one of my best customers was in the commercial furniture business. So one night he came in, and I was talking to him. I said, "Well, I'm going to sell my shares. I'm going to get out. I don't like what they're doing or going to do."
Hmm.
And he said, "Great. You want to start work on Monday?" And so I ended up taking a week off and went to work for him. And he owned a franchise of a major manufacturer, and that's how I got started. And as I started delivering and installing the furniture, and moved my way up to sales manager, and then after about 7 years with him, I took off on my own.
That's awesome. Have you always been entrepreneurial in your life?
I, you have to laugh. I have filled out one job application in my entire life, and that
Nice.
was to bake potatoes at a restaurant when I was 17 years old at the Ponderosa. And that is
Nice.
every job I've ever had has been a referral or happenstance. And I've never applied for one in my entire life. And so,
Ha
yes,
have
that
you
would be
peeled
entrepreneurial.
very much so. Have you peeled potatoes since that day?
Yeah, that
All
was it.
right. Good. Happy to hear that. I mean, it's interesting, right? Because, for somebody that's been doing this consistently and has been able to grow the business, I would love to kind of get a good understanding of, the what the early beginnings look like versus what they look like now, and ultimately how you grew the business because it's really difficult to be able to, especially I mean, to play a comparison within the restaurant industry. Most restaurants fail within the first year. And then like 90% of the restaurants that don't fail in the first year fail the second year or the third year. So how have you been able to sustain a business for over 28 years?
So I think the primary one of the primary reasons is never grow too fast and never indebt yourself. Those are very important pieces of the puzzle. It was always, and I had a young family at the time when I started, um, and it was always about don't get overextended. If things slow down. For instance, the business started in 1997, and in 2000 they had the dot-com bubble, which actually proved out to be an opportunity. But the best, one of the best moves I made was operating out of my back pocket and not getting a fleet of trucks, not leasing more space than I could use, not hiring more people than I could pay. And if you do that and keep growing, you will get to an inflection point where you're going to have to take on some debt. You're going to have to get another truck. You're going to have to lease another space. But by that time, you've got a very good handle on what you're doing. The other thing that really was fortunate is locating in Orlando, Florida. As you can read, the theme park industry is gigantic here, as is the hospitality industry. Um, I would probably not be this successful in other markets. In other words, Orlando's grows today. 28 years later, it's still growing today. And that has been a huge factor. And that was just simply happenstance and luck that I
Hmm.
located here and started the business here. Really, the biggest thing is don't get in debt and make sure you can still sleep at night is very important.
Yeah, sleep is definitely important for sure.
Yeah.
So obviously businesses like yours that more or less you have to accrue at least a little bit of debt in order to be able to make the purchases because in the very beginning I mean let's just be honest, you're probably broke, right? Or you probably have
Correct.
very little.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're eating tuna fish out of cans for sure. Um, but what were some of the strategic investments that you made specifically? Because you talk about debt and you talk about things like that. Like how do you lay that foundation in the very beginning? And then I have a couple of follow up questions about theme parks.
So the most important thing I did was I purchased with a partner a warehouse building in downtown Orlando in 2000. So I controlled my own destiny in terms of
Mm,
space. And we initially started out as partners in the building, and he needed roughly half the building, and I did. And so we were never, I never had problems if I was really busy for 3 months and needed space, or if I was really slow, I didn't have to pay for space I wasn't really using. We kind of went back and forth for several years on the use of the space. That was probably the most strategic thing. And then about 14 years into it, making the decision to get out of the pre-owned portion, move into the new furniture portion, and lease a showroom in downtown Orlando, which gave the business legitimacy. So those were the two big moves, and that got me where I am today. And we're still actually in the showroom, and I still own that warehouse building. So
very cool.
it's been very consistent that way.
Yeah. So now you have the foundation, right? You have the real estate more or less. You have the vision of where you want to go as a business. And now it seems as though you need the relationships in order to grow forward. So, let's just assume that you're in a place like Philadelphia or you're in a place like Texas or Colorado, something that doesn't necessarily have theme parks associated with it. Do you feel like the foundations and the relationships that you've built can transfer anywhere you go?
Well, the other factor I probably should mention too is the commercial real estate industry is very important to our business. Knowing when people are expanding, contracting, relocating is very crucial piece of information to have in your hands. And over the years, I've developed a lot of relationships with those type of real estate brokers who have helped me tremendously in being successful. And of course, they will reuse you if you do a good job. So obviously, we've
Mm,
done a good job over the years because I still am friends with a lot of them. I still get business out of a lot of them. And again, the Orlando market has expanded quite a bit in
yeah.
the last 15 to 20 years. And so that's brought in more brokers, which has brought in more space, which has brought in more opportunities.
Yeah. So you said a good job, right? Doing a good job for your friends and for your referral partners and things like that. But like if somebody were to kind of pick your brain and get a better understanding of how you grew the business in 28 years, to me, I think relationships and your counterpartner, Josh, has done very similarly in the aspects of building strong relationships, getting to know people. What were some ways or techniques or strategies that you've used in order to build those relationships from the beginning? And then, secondly, how did you maintain those relationships over the course of multiple years?
Bribery.
Nice. I mean,
Uh,
hey, money talks, man. I respect that.
so the other, yes, maintaining those relationships is fairly simple because if you do a good job, and this is, I believe, true of any industry, and get to a certain level of where people know about you, then, like for instance, a typical lease is of an office space is 3 to 5 years, sometimes 7. So every 3 to 5 years, if you do a good job, in 3 years from now that ABC is moving or expanding, and you can, if you've done a good job, cycle through that. You're kind of on their cycle of lease expansions, contractions, relocations,
Hmm.
and that's very important. And if you've done a good, it's like anything else. If a guy is doing yard work and does a great job, unless he outprices himself, you're going to keep him.
Yeah.
You're not going to go anywhere.
Yeah.
And even though there is a lot of competition in this market, we've been able to maintain a lot of those relationships. And the other thing that is very, very important, which I meant to mention, was you can't do this by yourself. You've
Sure.
got to have good people.
Yeah.
You've got to hire good people. You've got to keep good people. We've got people that have been here 14 years, 16 years.
Amazing.
That is crucial because then that expands your base of contacts and of relationships. If you've got more people out there making sure they do the same thing you did and do a good job,
Yeah.
very critical piece of the pie. And again, let's go back to if you want to sleep at all, you've got to have some good people.
Yeah. So let's talk about good people because to me, I mean, this whole podcast is about offices and offices filled with good people. Bad offices that are filled with bad people end up having bad culture. So what has that done for the business, hiring good people? How has that been able to help you?
Well, you can't succeed on your own, or well, you can if you want to do a $500,000 a year business at a 1,400 square foot warehouse. You can succeed on your own,
Yeah.
but if you want to expand, you want to get larger, you want to be more successful. Um, there's no way to do it without the right
Mm.
people. And of course, I'm not telling you that I batted 1,000. I did have some interesting hires over the years, but all in all, we've done very well in finding, engaging, and retaining people, and that has obviously led to a lot of our success.
What would you say the word retain is important? So like what do you think you've done successfully over the years that allowed the people who are a part of your team to come back every single day into the office for over, X 14, 16 years? What do you think that you've done or the business has done that allowed people to trust you with their familyhood, their life, their careers?
I think we have created quite a family environment. Some
Mm.
days, too much family,
Mhm.
but we've really worked hard at making everybody part of the solution, and that has gone several ways with as much training as they want. Always helps. The financial incentives always help. We have very generous benefit plan,
Nice.
helping people through tough times. More than once over the years, we've had people had a tough time. We've stepped in and helped them out, whether it was a housing thing, an automobile thing, or whatever. And just treating them like you would treat your family, it goes a long, long ways. And then, of course, people do take advantage of it. So you have to reel that in a little bit. I mean, it is a business.
Yeah,
It's not just a family vacation.
sure.
So you've got to balance that. And again, as well published, people want a good environment, want a good place to work, want a good boss, and they want to be treated right. It's really no mystery. It's
Yeah.
just it gets out of hand sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's difficult to grow and maintain that as well.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, so I would assume, thousands of offices that your business has been able to curate and has been able to help other companies grow. What have you seen from I guess from a trend standpoint that you've seen that has worked really well in the office community and culture when creating office buildings, floors and things of that nature? Like, how are you constructing that in order to maintain that culture?
Well, it's also it's changed so much, especially well documented in the last 5 years what's happened, um, and so you kind of have to uh, be consistent with what is being demanded at the time. In other words, so years ago it was density, pack as many people in as you could. Maybe not the best solution for people, but that was it. I mean, that's you put 100. How can I get 100 people in here? How can I get 50 people in here? Um, and it was way more utilitarian, and it has since evolved into more, as we're all very familiar with, want to work out of your living room kind of thing, but not in your house. So the office is really transformed into more of a gathering place. Most companies have abandoned the you got to be in the office 5 days a week approach, and that's a big part of retaining people. But at the same time, the leash got a little loose when everybody decided that they could work from home, and it's just now people are realizing that they really actually like going to the office, just don't like the hour and a half commute, So
Hmm.
let's work around that. We have a varied schedule here where some people come in really early and leave at 7 to 3:30, and others come in at 9 and work a little later. And that's really the thing, is giving them comfortable uh, coming into the office, making the office comfortable itself, and then there's no way you guys. We've all done it. We've all been on a Zoom call. You can't hear somebody. Nobody talks. Nobody puts on their video. You don't even know if they're there. I mean, it went on and ad nauseum. And most companies have discovered that people have to be together. They have
Mm.
to share ideas. They have to share equipment. They have to go to lunch. They have to go to breakfast. They have to do whatever it is. And it's the only way you're going to provide a culture
Yeah.
and also retain people.
Yeah.
It's definitely a nice and change, I think, for everybody to work from home occasionally, to
For
come in a
sure.
little later, a little earlier, and not be quite so regimented. And the other thing we've really adapted, which is great, is we've gone to working half a day on Friday, which our
Yeah.
people have really embraced, really like it. It's really been a positive adjustment. And that, let's face it, 15 years ago, there was no way anybody was working half a day Friday.
Yeah.
Um, so it's evolved. It's much better for everybody, I think, and yet you still have to provide things for your people that are important to them, health insurance, etc. And we've been very lucky. And obviously, since we are in the office business, we never really left the office.
Yeah, for sure.
Even though our Orange County tried to tell us we had to, we did not.
Nice. Good for you guys. That's awesome. I'm curious because there's so many trends from as you said, the cubicle aspect. They had the cubicle era of making calls nonstop and everybody's talking and it's vibrant and the noises are loud and it's amazing. And now you're kind of, as you briefly mentioned, the culture where a lot of people tend to just put their headphones in, work, and it's super quiet. It's like as quiet as a library, right? If we were to build the perfect office, right? From start to finish. What are some of the things that you believe people should consider when constructing a space in order to house their employees?
So it's interesting. Those trends tend to, fluctuate a bit here and there, depending on what the design community decides that should happen. Clearly, some common areas and amenities are important. And that doesn't just go down into creating the office, but where do you create the office? There's a big movement from various cities. I think Philadelphia is one of them. And I know Orlando is realizing that a abandoned downtown core is not a good thing for any city.
No.
And so to create your office space in a place where there is a coffee shop, there is a dry cleaner, there is a restaurant, there is a gym, or whatever is available, really is probably the most important thing, is where you create it. There's
Mm.
also a move out to create offices more in the suburbs. So you're closer, so the commute is less. We're starting to see more of that going on.
Mm.
And if you've ever driven in Orlando traffic coming in it's horrible. Uh, it's just horrible. And a lot of that is not necessarily office related, but more tourist related in our area.
Yeah.
Um, but the inside of the office has got to be warm. It's got to be inviting. It has to be. It has to have technology. We just invested in technology in terms of the way we display and sell products. You could literally have a 3D walkthrough of the office you're looking at. Technology is very, very important. You have to be up to date to that. Not that that's a real eye opener, but very important in our industry as well. And then make it warm, make it inviting, make sure you got the stuff that people want, and it's the location is as big as anything.
Yeah.
If you can walk out your door and get the stuff done, you're much happier.
There's probably some science behind the inflection points of when people walk and hit each other, right? And in addition to that, like if they come through one particular door, their path is this way, right? And then they can kind of come on the left or they can come to the right. And then all of a sudden they're going to meet somebody that comes out of a kitchen, things of that nature. Do you feel like having those points where people can ultimately talk to each other, or is it important to have community areas? And then I guess like to expand even further upon that same question is like, do you recommend meeting rooms? Do you feel like community areas are a little bit more important for collaboration?
Yeah, no question. That is exactly what goes in. You described that very well. Um, what we're also seeing is in this open and collaboration is great, but the need for some quiet space. There's phone
Mm,
calls that need to be taken in the quiet. You don't want to have a bunch of people around. There's times when we all have to dig in. We don't want to be bothered, so you have to provide that as well. But to learn and grow and understand and develop a career, you have to be around other people.
yeah.
You have to go in America, most countries, it's the office. It's
Yep.
where you have to be around other people to learn a profession. For every, you know, even people that are very detailed, an engineering firm, for instance, they still learn from each other, even though they're very they tend to concentrate, better by themselves when you're working on stuff that may save somebody's life or be a very I'm scratch this. Sorry. Um,
You're good.
I was going off somewhere.
No,
Um,
that's the beauty of this, right? Like
yeah,
you can have a conversation and we're not even going to edit it because the beauty of talking and podcasts and things like that is whatever the most natural aspect of the answer is. And there isn't any right there isn't any wrong answer. I think it's just the real raw aspect of it. And I think growing a business is ridiculously hard, right? But sharing the ideas and the strategies in order to make that possible is vital. And what I'm hearing from you, Craig, is that it takes getting into the right market is really important in order for you to find it to be successful in business. But in addition to that, being fair, being honest, being real, and making sure that you have a level of community that when they come into your office space, that they're willing to collaborate, they're excited to see each other, and they want to do what's best for the business. Would you say that's relatively accurate?
that is very accurate. Maybe you should
So,
be in the business.
what do you say? Yeah.
Maybe you
Hey,
should be in the business.
yeah, maybe one day, if all else fails, I might have a second coming, or at this point, probably like a fifth coming on my trajectory. Um, but as we close this chapter of this conversation, I want to just understand, or at least have a better understanding to the audience is like if somebody were to take a like your history of your career, what is the formula or like the basic principles in order for them to take your recipe and apply it into their own
Well,
life?
yeah, and that formula evolves, of course. I mean, when I started the business, it was basically just me. I was doing all my accounting on Sunday night.
Mm,
I was spending weekends at job sites installing furniture. And the only way to grow it, and as you grow, is to obviously you can't do all that all the time. Let's go
yeah,
back to if I was doing $500,000 a year in sales in a 1,400 square foot warehouse, sure I could do that. Um, but if you want to grow and expand, the key is do it slowly and do it where you are not going to put things at risk, such as your house or your child's education or whatever. And then you have to find the right people, which is it's not easy. That is not an easy thing to do. And again, if you once you find them, you have to hang on to them. You
yeah,
know, there's nothing more expensive than training new people.
yeah.
I mean, that
You
gets
actually
expensive.
mentioned that before. I'm curious, like because not a lot of people talk about training. I personally am obsessed with training. Like I think it's vital in order for people to understand what the hell they're doing. But also at the same time, like if you can write a transcript and give it to somebody, it's usually not the best strategy because they probably won't read it. But if they're more hands on than they're doing it, they're probably going to learn a little bit stronger. Like, what does training look like to you?
Well, I think training is first and foremost leading by example.
Mm,
It's the best form of training you can do. If you are leading by example, and then the people understand and know what you think and how you think and what you do and how you do it, is the best form of training. And it varies with discipline. I've always said that most people, everybody I've hired has 70% of what they need already,
mm,
and then the other 30% is simply product knowledge or technology knowledge. If you design office, we have a great track record with hiring people fresh out of college from one of the local universities, and so they have 70% of what they need already in their basket. and then you have to train them on the last 30. A salesperson more so has 90% of what they need or not.
Yeah.
And it's 10% is the product knowledge.
Yeah.
So it varies by discipline. But I'm really a firm believer in learning. I've learned everything in front of me. In other words, hands-on, how to put stuff together, how to do this, how to market is really on the job training is great. And then there's some disciplines where you don't have that. You have to learn how to use a CAD machine to draw stuff. You have to learn, how to basically be not an architect, but an interior design person has to learn a lot of technology.
Yeah.
A salesperson has to learn some technology, but not nearly like an interior design person.
Yeah.
So,
No, I asked this as we're very close to the end here of the conversation, but I believe I asked the same question to Josh. Out of all the years of being in business, how many cups of coffee, or if not coffee, how many business meetings do you think that you've attended over the course of your 28-year career?
well, 27 years. Let's see, at least 100 a year. So 20, that's probably 3,000, 3,500. I don't know.
You think so? You think 100 a year?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
probably at least 2 a week, right? I mean, that's
That's
not that
cool.
much.
That is really cool.
I've never thought of that though. That's a very interesting angle.
Yeah, but I mean, it brings context, because when you can put a number to this, it allows you the ability to understand how many more meetings do you need in order to be successful, right? And success could be defined in multiple aspects, right? We could say monetary in the aspect of I want to make $1 million a year. You could say, I want to be successful because my children are growing, or my whatever it is, right? But a lot of people don't want to put in the work, especially I'd say younger generation. They don't understand that you have to have 3,000 meetings in order to get what you're looking for. And you have to be able to make 18,000 cold calls, or send 10,000 emails, or whatever the heck it is, in order to be successful. So it's really cool to be able to add that perspective of meetings. And then the last question is, if you were to just get a general idea over the course of your career, you singularly, not the company, but how much revenue do you think that you have generated over the course of your career?
Oh, wow. That's a math equation. 27, if I average 4, yes, it's probably closing in on $100 million. I would
Amazing.
think.
That's cool,
If
man.
I average 4 million a year for 25 years, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's probably in there somewhere. Obviously, it climbed a lot in the last 10. Certainly
Sure.
wasn't that starting out, but
Yeah.
natural progression.
That's
It's
amazing.
interesting to think like that, what you've done and again, it goes back to too, like leading by example. Now it's more like it still is that, of course, but it's more leaving your legacy. What do you leave as your legacy?
Man,
And
you're
that's
you're
really important.
softballing me up, because that was my final question. I know you guys are a family-owned and operated business,
Correct.
and I do know a little bit of the people that are inside your business after getting to know your team, and obviously this is more or less the first intimate conversation that we've had together, but legacy is important. What do you want to leave behind to your children, your great grandchildren, if you do or don't already have them, and why is the family aspect of the business allowed you the ability to grow?
It's no different than any other parent.
Yeah.
You want to leave behind good people on earth who create even better people. And actually, I'm about to become a grandfather for the first time,
Congratulations, man.
which is awesome.
That's
And
amazing.
you again, it all goes back to lead by example. What did Dad do right? Which hopefully is most of the observation. And what did Dad do that I don't want to do? Because and a lot of that, what you just alluded to, though, is they don't remember me working 7 days a week to start out.
Yeah.
Nor do I want them to. And it's really as I tell my son, I say you're in a great position because you work harder than most of your peers, and that will always pay off.
Yeah.
That always pays off.
Amen. I love it, man. Craig, it's an honor to speak to you for about 30 minutes or so.
Yeah, that was great.
Congratulations on your success, man.
You've been listening to Boom Podcast, proudly brought to you by Boomerang Office Furniture. If you're looking to upgrade your workspace with ergonomic chairs, sleek desks, or smart office solutions, we invite you to explore our full range at boomerangofficefurniture.com. Thanks for listening. Be sure to catch our next episode. Until then, stay inspired, stay productive.